Okay, good morning everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome you here all today on behalf of the Fuel Cells Solid State Chemistry Division and also the FIB-SEM DTU. This symposium on solid oxide cell electrodes in 3 dimensions. Station order, my name is Bowen, and I've organised the symposium and I'll also be the chairman for the rest of the day. Before I introduce the program, I would like to say a few background words about why we're having this symposium, its scope, and then also some practical details. I'd like to start by making some acknowledgements. This symposium wouldn't have been possible without funding from the Danish Agency for Science, Technology and Innovation via the International Network Program. They have enabled us to invite the international guests we have here today and also cover the expenses of the symposium today and the workshop we're having tomorrow. I'd also like to thank my Program Secretary, Lynn Christensen, for all the organisational support. She's taken care of a lot of the small details, which has also helped in great detail. So the motivation for the symposium and the workshop is based on many things. As I think most of you all know, the field of focused ion beam tomography and X-ray tomography is very well established. But the application of these fields to solid oxide fuel cells and related electrode microstructures is relatively new, and indeed the first paper came out in 2006 by James Wilson and Scott Barnett, who we also have here today. If you look at the literature, there's only a handful of serious research groups making progress in the field. And when I started thinking about making a symposium, all the investigations were by focused ion beam tomography. And also I was looking around and thinking that, okay, there's been many presentations at various conferences, and because the field is relatively small, or the subfield of tomography is relatively small, it would be rather good timing to gather everybody and have a focused symposium and a workshop on the topic before it gets too big and too many players come into the field. There was also a timely call for international networking applications, which is, as I said, has funded this workshop, this symposium today. So there were many various reasons for holding such a workshop and symposium. If you look around in your seat here today, all the research groups that are active are following the same similar targets, and if you break them down into 4 rough categories, we have tomography, reconstruction, quantification, and then simulation. And you'll see this in various forms from the various talks today. Fortunately and unfortunately, there's been some very recent promising X-ray nanotomography results. If I had known this before organising the symposium, I would have made more of an effort to invite a couple of more people, but that's the way things are in the field that's moving rapidly ahead. But we will be lucky to hear some X-ray results today, I believe. The scope of the symposium, it covers 3 main points. Obviously, solid oxide cell electrodes. I say solid oxide cell here because we're covering both fuel and electrolysis cells. This also could be extended to other similar devices such as membranes, and maybe there's some other devices that come up in the future. Obviously there's 3-dimensional characterization, and we're focusing on the methods and also the quantification of these electrode structures. So for the methods, we're obviously talking about focused ion beams, X-rays, and maybe there'll be some scope for thinking about the possibility of TEM tomography in the future. And of course, once you've collected the data, you need to do image analysis, so this is another important topic of the symposium today. If we extend this now to simulation in 3 dimensions, we can probably think about 2 types of simulations that will be in the scope of the symposium. This will be an experimental-based electrochemical simulation, which is what most people have been working on now. And this is where you would test a cell, reconstruct its electrodes, and then simulate the conditions that it run under to understand why the structure is and what effects it has. You can also think about taking this a step further and do simulated experiments where we take a structure that we have reconstructed and then simulate different operating conditions, or we could simulate structural change over time of this structure. Or another thing that I think would be very exciting for the field to get into is predicting optimal structures. So we make synthetic structures based on what we know about the electrodes, and then test hypothetical structures for their performance and use this to design future electrodes. As I said, we have many invited guests here today. We have Professor Scott Barnett, Dr. James Wilson, and Scott Conant from Northwestern University. We have Associate Professor Hiroshi Iwai and Professor Matsui Toshiaki from Kyoto University. We have Professor Naoki Shigezono from Tokyo University. We have Professor Nigel Brandon and Dr. Paul Sherry from Imperial College London. We have Dr. Lawrence Holzer from EMBA and Dr. Thomas Hocker from Zurich University of Applied Sciences, both from Switzerland. So this is the academic guests, and we have also representatives from 3 companies which provide technologies that are relevant for the field. We have Dr. Laurent Crossel from a FEI company, Dr. Daniel Pratt from Carl Zeiss at SMT, and we have Dr. Henrik Ekström from Comsol AB in Sweden. I'm not going to go through the program in detail right now because it's a rather packed program. I think I would like to make some general announcements here. We have a break at 10:20. This is only a 10-minute break, unfortunately, but there'll be some coffee and some refreshments put outside. You can bring these back into the room after, while we continue the rest of the morning session. At 12 o'clock, we'll try and take group photographs before you earn your lunch. And one more point here, I want to say. Yes, as you noticed, the sessions are being recorded today, so if you ask some questions, please give your name and your institute so we know who asked the questions later. And I would also like to remind the speakers to keep to time. I'll do my best to be a strict timekeeper, so that we can all finish on time and not go over time today. So, before opening I guess this program is now open, and I'll hand the word over to Louisa Tarquin, my program manager, who will give an introduction to Risø and